well, the two best things about any trip to IKEA are the bits for your house and the gorgeous food. So we thought, why not put them together?
Why not? Joining us now to assemble some totally edible gingerbread houses is the one and only chef, Louise Lennox. How are you, Louise? And
good. I'm excited to show everyone that I can actually put flatback together without instructions. Only the edible type. So I'm making a gingerbread house, and for me, it is just tradition. I saw this being made when I was a kid, didn't know how to make it, and then it's been my tradition to make with family and friends and my children. So first up, I'm going to breeze through this because there's a lot of getting through. I need to make the gingerbread.
Are we about to do our Leaving Cert construction studies again?
You get an A+
with
this. I am going, after this, Martin, I want to see a picture of this on your Instagram of these amazing bakes that you've made. So you have to start off with gingerbread. It's really easy to make. All I have in here, and I've melted down, is brown sugar, white sugar, some butter. What else did I put in there? Milk, and I put in golden syrup as well. And you don't boil it. The trick is that you just allow it to melt. Once the sugar's melted, you can't feel those grains anymore. You can't see the butter in there. That's when it's done. If you overboil it, it's going to make it really hard to actually roll out. So this gets put into flour, baking powder.
Oh, and while it's warm, it goes in?
Well, it has to be warm, yeah.
Okay.
And then I put in some ginger and some cinnamon. If you don't like ginger and cinnamon, you can leave them out. You can add in some cocoa powder.
It's just ground ginger and ground
Some
cinnamon.
people hate it, but it's not overly flavoursome. I kind of toned it down a little bit. It's not too overpowering. If you do love the flavour of it, I'd add a little bit more in than my recipe. This is it's like making a curry for people. It's not too spicy or hot.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you like a little bit more of a kick of ginger or cinnamon, just add another tablespoon in. And then this is how fast it is. You literally just whip this around. If you're super strong, you can do it by hand, but I tried it once. I just went, there's just no point.
Why when there's an extra?
Exactly, Martin. So you see the way that's all come together now? That's the gingerbread done. Now, the trick is then you put that in a cake tin, a little bit of baking parchment on the bottom, and a little tip is put on some flour on the bottom and the top, and it stops it from sticking. So, blueprints. My dad's an engineer.
Now, when you do that, by the way, can I just ask before we move on, does that have to sit somewhere for a while?
So don't put it in the fridge. If you're trying to rush it, it's not the bake-off. No one's going to judge you on this. It's better if you just leave it at room temperature. Right. I've done it both ways. I used to put it in the fridge and I'd literally be breaking a sweat trying to roll this out. I'm not very strong. And it actually goes quite spongy once it's set, so it does take a couple of hours. Night before a job. And then I did try to scan these yesterday. I have a toddler that's very helpful, and she kept pressing buttons and I couldn't scan it. So if anyone wants these blueprints, send me a DM on Instagram, because I do want to send these to you guys, but she prevented that from happening. So my dad's an engineer. Right. I can make a cake and I can make houses, but I can't guarantee they're all going to match together. So he did these, and I wanted them basically so it'd be on an A4 page, so you can print them off and it's easy. So you print them off, and then what you do is cut around this, and then you need to cut it around some kind of cardboard. Back of a cereal box is perfect. So then you cut them out. So you made these cutouts yourself before, so we can just make them out of anything. This is an original blueprint. Love that. Didn't see this many.
We have to go to an engineer or an architect to make a gingerbread.
That's my dad. That's my dad. And then I've shared this with the nation. And then I cut these out. So I've rolled out the gingerbread here. Little tip in between two pieces of baking parchment. And then, great little tip here, flour this again so it doesn't actually stick to the gingerbread. Tap it out. And then the best thing for cutting stuff out is actually a pizza cutter. See how fast this is? You just spin it around.
So cool.
And then your gingerbread's cut out. Now, tip number 2, OK? So you can cut out the door and you can cut out the window. I'm not going to, because I know we're very pressed for time. And then you just take that off and then pop this onto a baking tray. And then you don't have to actually let it rest. You can put that straight in the oven, 20 minutes at 170 fan. And then when it comes out of the oven, after around 20 minutes, you need to put this back on it. I'm going to show you. I made 2 here. This is just when it comes out of the oven. And you need to put the template back over it, and you just trim it down while it's warm. Really important. And then this is the trimmed down version. So you can see the difference there. Yeah, because it does expand a little bit. It does expand. It's not going to fit perfectly together. OK, let's move on. We've got a lot to cover. So the next part of this is actually making sure that the gingerbread doesn't fall out. And it's a structure that's going to stay upwards. So what I also did, which is an option, is you can get some crushed up lollipops or hard little foil sweets for the windows, or what you can also do is put some gelatine leaves here, and if you don't do those, you just secure those down with a little bit of
looks like you got leaded windows.
I know, it's cool, isn't it? They don't break. OK, so here we go. Icing sugar, royal icing sugar is your new best friend.
OK, so is this like the glue?
This is the glue, so I'm going to just be very generous with it, and I just pop a bit down here as well. My neighbour I forgot to actually order another cake board, so my neighbour last night, I always make her her kids' cakes there, and I was like, do you have that cake board that we used during the summer for your...
Is that okay.
For the cake for the birthday, and she did. So she very kindly donated this to me today. So see the way that's staying up?
It really sticks, like it's not runny at all.
No, but follow the back of the instructions. So this one, it's like 50 mils of water.
Yeah.
Don't guess it, because there's a good chance that it's going to be the wrong consistency. And if it is the right consistency, as you see, you don't actually need like 4 hands to construct this.
Yeah.
So this goes here, and homemade gingerbread tastes absolutely delicious. Now, I always say you need a reason to break into the gingerbread house. So traditionally in our family, and when I give this as a gift to anyone, we always fill it with loads of sweets up to the brim, because people mightn't want to break it open. So next, I just get a load of sweets and I just whack them all in.
I know
there
I
we
should have
go.
eaten them. I should have eaten them during
they
the
were
break.
right there.
They're gone into the house now. No.
They're gone. But the good news is, Martin, I haven't put a window in the other side. There's no pane of glass, so you can sneak a few out at the ad break.
By the way,
then here goes the top
one. Ready-made icing?
It's ready-made that you have to add in water. So I bought it as a dry icing pack, and I just added in the water. So I'm just going to put on one side of this just so I can show you. So then the next thing for the gingerbread house is you want to add a little bit of detail in. So I have a piping bag here, and then I just want to make the little windows here. So you can see the way I'm just going to... Oh, that doesn't want to come out. OK, we'll forget about that. I'll do the door first. So here's the door, and then a little blob of icing at the back. It's glue. And then with the leftover gingerbread, there's always lots of leftover little scraps. I re-roll them all, so I cut out little circles, and I did this actually with my nozzle here. I cut the this side and then the inside using the nozzle, both ends, and I just coloured it green, the royal icing, and then you just stick it on the door there, and then the door gets stuck onto... Oh, nothing wants to stick at the moment. Then the door gets... This is why I don't build houses at speed. Yeah, so then you just stick the little door here, and then that goes on there. If you wanted, you could put on some rolled out icing if you wanted to colour the door, put sprinkles on. This is the great thing about it. Like, I make this every year with my kids, and my son actually put Lego figures abseiling down the house this
Brilliant.
of the day. And then the trick to this is you want to hide all the bits of icing. So I actually get lots of random bits of sweets and that.
It's not like licorice.
Yeah, it's all the stuff that I actually...
You know what? You can't even tell. I'm just amazed by the whole design of it. That I'm not like, that's a piece of licorice, there are a couple of buttons. Like, it's just a whole piece of art. Here.
Edible artwork. And then for the tiles, so I love chocolate. And when I was starting to make the tiles before, my dad, who's an engineer, told me that it wasn't structurally safe because I was going to have rain issues. I put them the other way around. So he told me one top of the other. So these are just chocolate buttons. But what you can do is you can even just, you know, if you wanted to pipe down it along it like this, what I like about this is you can all make it individual. You can put on little sprinkles like this. I like to construct this, and then what I do is I get the kids to actually come and they do all of the decoration. And I always make 2 every year. One is for me, personally, and then one is for my kids, and we leave it out for Santa Claus, and we eat this for breakfast the next morning.
That's your Christmas Day breakfast.
That's my Christmas Day breakfast. But the one I've made here, I'm going to bring this into Crumlin Children's Hospital. We were there 3 weeks ago. My daughter, oh my God, she got the worst cut. She got stitches. And John Cochran in the, what's it called again? The injury pod. Sewed her up, amazing. And Lisa in reception were so kind to us. I want to bring this in just as a big thank you. And they do amazing work all around the country. Everyone that has to work during Christmas.
You've made their morning a whole lot sweeter.
So maybe a little bit sweeter, but a big thank you for helping us out.
OK, by the way, if you want to recreate this, the full recipe details are on our website, as always. And, of course, you can follow Louise on Instagram. Just search for @Louise Lennox.
I will be putting up more tips during this weekend of how to make this, and I'm going to do a full video because I know how to speed along through here.
Yeah, we're kind of limited to time, so we can't get to this point on this segment.